my first tip for you is to start strong. So what do I mean by that? I mean your personal profile. So your CV, you want in those 7 seconds, that first half of your CV is key to getting them to think, oh, that's interesting. I want to know more about this individual. So you want to pique their interest from the start. So what I suggest you do in order to do that is to do a personal profile at the top. Now, this is a bit, and as it says here, it's one of the most important sections on your CV. This is an introduction to you. It needs to be maybe 5 or 6 lines. It can't be too comprehensive. You just kind of a snapshot of who you are and what you can bring to the table, and what your career aims are. So not much space to do that, but you're kind of covering off your main kind of soft skills, if you like, you know, what you can bring to them, to make sure that they're interested and go, oh, this sounds like a person that I want to know more about. I've said that. And then, yeah, don't be shy, sell yourself. So I think it's a bit of a kind of British thing, if I'm going to be a bit kind of tar everyone with the same brush, but I have seen lots and lots and lots of CVs, and people, we don't like to sell ourselves. We're a bit kind of like, well, you know, I'm good at that. I have seen good used in the CV, and I'm like, I don't want to see good in the CV. You're excellent. You know, or I'm accomplished, or whatever. You're not just good. In America, they love a bit of selling. I've seen some American CVs. They're outstanding. They are outstanding. Now, we might not want to push it that far. You know, we're Brits. So, but excellent. You'll find to be excellent things. Oh, I'm strong. I've got strong at this. So tell people what you can do. Be proud of what you can do, because at the end of the day, there's no room for you to be shy. It's not going to get you the job. You've got to show them what you're good at, and they don't know, so you've got to tell them. Readability. I'm quite passionate about this. I like clear font. Now, you can use, a lot of people like to use, I know I'm talking about font, it's ridiculous, but a lot of people like to use fancy fonts to make it look a bit kind of, you know, exciting. Please don't use a fancy font. We want to be able to read it, and it needs to be a decent size. So what a lot of people think is, I'm going to do the smallest font I can possibly do that I think people can probably read, so I can fit as much information in as I possibly can. But the problem is, you know, some people like myself, my eyes are failing me. I know I don't look old enough, but my eyes are failing me, and I need long-sighted glasses now. I was starting to do that. I need a nice clear font. I look at it and it's like, oh, it's like a size 10, and it's like some sort of font I've never heard of before. And I'm like, I can't read this. And then you're going to put someone off because they've got 7 seconds. So I like Arial, but Calibri is quite popular as well, I believe, nowadays. And I like it to be 11. I go, you know, there's no longer 10. I like it 11. Times New Roman was what people used to use back in the day, but now it's sort of Arial, clearer, more modern font. Who knew I was going to spend so long talking about a font? And then as well, it's lots of nice sort of headings to sort of break the CV up. Lots of nice white space, so it's really easy for the person to read. Bullet points. So, you know, I'm working on a CV at the moment, and she's got, under all her experience, like just free text. It makes it quite hard to read. So lots of nice bullet points that you can, so it's very easy to see the points that you're making would be good. Avoid acronyms as well, or if you're going to use kind of an acronym, make sure that you clarify it, and then you can use the acronym afterwards. So if you're going to put, for example, then the reason we don't like acronyms is largely 2 reasons. One, for the applicant tracking system, the computer system that I'm going to talk about, that scans your CV. They don't like acronyms, or at least they need you to put it in both ways in case it's been plugged in one way into the system and you've used the other way. So you have to, so if it's an applicant tracking system is called an ATS system. So you need to put applicant tracking system brackets ATS, and then you can continue to say ATS afterwards. That means you've used both versions of it, but also you've made it clear, because someone like me, an HR person as was, will be coming along and having a look at that probably in the first instance before the person that's an expert in your field, and they may not understand all the different things that acronyms that you're using. So it needs to be clear for somebody who's reading it in the first instance. Also use, I'm not actually bringing these things up, I'm getting so excited about fonts. So 2 sides of A4 as well, I haven't mentioned. So the worst CV I've seen, I think, was 11 pages long. I've had a CV. Plus it was all different font sizes, which was quite interesting. We had like 16 and then we had 10, and it was all, yeah, quite interesting. So no one has time these days, unfortunately. Time is precious. Time is money, as they say. So we need 2 sides of A4. And I know we've all done a lot in our careers, and so that's not very much room, but you're giving someone a synopsis of your career that you can then expand on at interview. You don't want to give the game away. You don't want to give all your secrets and tell them all the brilliant stuff you've done. You want them to kind of be like, oh, I need to know more about this person. So you're giving them a synopsis. You can also say at the bottom of your experience, more employment details upon request or something, and miss some of your earlier jobs out in order to get it to fit onto the 2 sides of A4. So I've talked about lots of white space, talked about the bullet points and headings. Yet definitely make sure there are no typos or grammatical errors. I am incredibly anal about this when I do CV developments with my clients. I mean, to me, especially if you've said that you've got a good eye for detail and then you've got like a typo on there, that person would go in the no pile for me. Harsh, but true, because I'm like, well, you obviously haven't got that good an eye for detail if you've made a mistake on your on your CV. So it's so important, and you can easily miss the mistakes because sometimes words not brilliant, and I saw someone had written a CV and they'd put stong, STONG, and they meant to put strong, obviously, and it hadn't picked it up. Word hadn't picked it up. Don't know why. Didn't pick it up on mine either. When I looked at it, I just noticed it, and I thought, so the best thing you can do is give it to someone else to read, because they're fresh to it. Whether it's your partner or your friend or whoever, they're fresh to it and they can see any typos that you might have made or grammatical errors that you've made. But really important to make sure you don't have any. And also, I'm a bit funny, and a lot of people are, about these generic phrases that people use on CVs. Try and think of some more interesting things to say than I'm a team player. I love working in a team, but I'm also good at working on my own. That's such a sort of cliche in a way. Can you think of some other way to show that, rather than putting kind of real cliches like I'm, team player, hardworking, multitasker, whatever? I'm not, if you can't think of anything, put it in. I'm not going to get too hung up on it, but it would be nice if you could be a bit more creative and not put the cliches in.
Just a question, Tanya. Mm-hmm. Those statements that you're talking about that are cliches, are the robots not looking for those statements?
Not particularly. What they're looking for, which I will come on to, is certain keywords. So it's like, I don't mind you saying team player. You've got to say team player if they want a team player. It's just that it was one statement that I always see on time and time again on the CV is I'm good at working in a team and also on my own. So it's that kind of phrase, if you like, that I would like you to kind of put in a different way. But the team player word,
Okay, but there's specific words we need to still use, but maybe not in the phrases that we're using.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
thanks for clarifying that. So this is a mistake that a lot of people make and can really make a difference. So your CV, as it says here, is not a one-size-fits-all document. What people do have a tendency to do, and I'm sure we've all done it, is to get a CV and go, I'm going to send that out to 20 people today and see what lands, see what happens. That might have worked back in the day. It doesn't work anymore. We need to tailor our CV to every position that we apply for. You need to tailor your cover letter and you need to tailor your CV. Now, you can have a CV that's like pretty much there. It's a great CV. You're going to use that for everybody. But you need to slightly change it. Shouldn't take you more than 10, 15 minutes, especially. It could only take you 5 if you've already got kind of a few ideas. Maybe you've got a document where you keep certain bullet points that you change, you move depending on the role that you're applying for. So you just cut and paste some things in, but you need to do it. Why do you need to do it? Because of these lovely bots that are trying to find CVs that match the job description that they've put up there. But also it makes it look like you've made an effort. So ensure the skills and experience that you're highlighting are relevant to the position you're applying for. So when you look through the job description or the job advert, I should say, they'll put a job advert up there and you're looking at what are they asking for this position. Now, some of the job adverts are rubbish. And it's real. I mean, honestly, some of the stuff I see, I just think, oh my goodness, who wrote this? So it's not always easy, but a lot of the time, it is clear that they will maybe say communication skills, and they'll have mentioned it 2 or 3 times throughout the advert, and you kind of think, okay, so they really want someone with good communication skills. So I need to make sure that is highlighted in my CV. Because they will be, once it's got through the computer, they will be looking for someone with good communication skills. So I need to show them that I've got those skills. Or they might be asking for something technical, like a technical experience. They might want you to have experience of prints, or if you like as a project manager, you might need agile or whatever. These things you need to make sure that if you've got the technical experience, that it's in there, and that they can see that you've got that experience, and very clearly and easily, so that I'm not having to search for it on your CV. So use the job description, use the job advert, use the company website to help you as well, particularly the company website for your cover letter, which, because you're trying to match your experience to the company. But kind of, I can't highlight this enough. It's so key. It's time and time again, my clients have kind of, when they've changed their approach from this, I'm going to send it out to everybody and see what happens, to just slightly tailoring it, their CV, it's made a massive difference. So really, really important. It can be time consuming. I'm aware of that. It's why people don't do it, right? It's why the other people don't do it. And it's why, and they're not getting any success. So it's why you need to do it, even though it's going to take you a bit of time. So the bots. It's a relatively recent thing in terms of this way of sifting through CVs companies using it, something called an applicant tracking system, ATS for short. They basically, what was happening was some companies are getting maybe 800 to 1,000 CVs sent to them a week, just like for various jobs that they've got on, but also just sort of speculative applications and stuff. And so it's a way of companies being able to deal with it. They just haven't got the manpower to deal with the amount of CVs that they're getting. I would say that it tends to be used for companies that, you know, it's not an exact science, but companies that have over 250 employees or something. Small companies can't afford to use it, or don't bother to use one of these systems. So if you're applying for a smaller company, probably don't have it. Some larger public sector organizations, some of them maybe don't have it, some of them do, you know. But generally, a lot of, you don't know who's got it and who hasn't. So you've got to kind of think, okay, make sure that I tailor my CV so that it's going to beat these things, these awful computers. So, first of all, keep the important details out of the header and footer. What do I mean by this? So a lot of people, in order to try and save space, put their name, their address details, their contact details in the header. Unfortunately, a computer doesn't like that. Some of them might be all right with it, some of them won't be. And so you need to make sure that you are putting all your personal details in the body of the CV. Now, you can actually change the margins so it goes quite high up and you can still use as much. Believe me, I spend my life moving margins to try and get as much as I can on the page. Just don't put it in the header. Really important. Otherwise, it won't know who you are and it'll chuck your CV out. You won't go through. Next, use a simple template. So this is a tricky one because it's nice to use a fancy template, and there's some lovely templates online that you can get, and very frustratingly through some, you know, really good companies that you'd think would know better. But they kind of, some of these templates will not get through an ATS system. They're too fancy. And they'll get scrambled by the computer and it won't understand it. And again, it won't go through. And also it can be a bit annoying sometimes for recruiters. Some recruiters and managers don't like fancy templates because they just want to be able to look at it really quickly and be able to find the key information. Are you suitable for the job? Are you not? You know, and that's it. So some creatives, you know, do use fancy CVs. And what I kind of say, because a lot of creatives have sort of separate online kind of trying to think of the word, sort of online profiles, and they have all their photography work or whatever on a specific link that they can send people to. So keep all the fanciness for that, and keep the CV very simple. So that's the simple template. And use a compatible file type. A lot of people don't know this. It's difficult, this one, because Apple's, if someone has an Apple and someone has a Windows kind of computer, when I'm trying to work with people who have an Apple and I don't, when they send me their CV in Word, it goes a bit weird and it's really annoying, because, you know, and that can happen. So you'd be forgiven for thinking, oh, I need to use a compatible file. I need to use so maybe not a PDF very exciting, or something. Really, send my CV as a PDF 2 pages long, but I've so that it doesn't. It on, the formating does put it on page for the sake of this. Computers don't like. It's nice and clean PDF files, and so yet again, you do need to send it as a Word document. Your CV needs to be a Word document. Please don't send it as a PDF. It won't go through the system. Also, images, text boxes, and charts also don't go through this computer system. It's very annoying, isn't it? Because I mean, you know, it's lovely to have kind of a nice text box. A lot of people put their profile in a text box. Don't is basically because they might not be able to read it. Some people put their training. So I've had people who've done loads of training, and a way of fitting in the training is to do like a little table with columns so you can get all your training in. Don't do that either. Basically, it can't read it. I mean, obviously, I mean, most of us know that, right? If they're in the UK, we can't include photos. So some people in Europe, photos are very common to be used, and they will have a way of getting through that on their computer systems. For us, it doesn't recognize images either. So don't put a photo. There's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't put a photo as well in terms of a discrimination. And so, you know, and even some companies are now asking you to send a completely, I know a client recently had to send a completely blinded CV because they want to make sure there's no discrimination. So they didn't know who the person was. You know, there was no ability to tell age, sex, race, whatever. Age is a little tricky one because you're going to be a certain age depending on how much career experience you've got. So it's always pretty hard to hide that one. So simple bullet points, yeah, even the bullet points, ridiculous, really. So try and use kind of maybe just the circles or the squares or whatever. If you start using really fancy imagey type bullet points or whatever, then again, they can not be go through the system. And finally, the keywords, which was what Amandeep was talking about. So again, it's and I've mentioned that already, really. They're looking, what they've done is they've plugged into the computer, they've gone, okay, we want a candidate with these skills and this experience. You don't know what they've put into their computer. You've just got to look at the job advert and take a view as to what soft and hard skills and what expertise they're wanting, and make sure that you get that into your CV. So the best way of doing this really is for you to go think about, well, what job am I applying for? Go and find, you know, maybe 2 or 3 job adverts out there that kind of match the type of role that you'd be interested in doing. Obviously they have to be for the same job, otherwise it's going to be all over the place. And then have a look at the sorts of words people are using. So I do this when I'm helping people to write CVs. I say, please, can you send me 2 to 3 job adverts? Some people send me 6, and that's a bit overwhelming. So 2 to 3 job adverts, and then I can have a look, and you're looking at what are the themes that go through, what are the things that they always want for an administrator. You know, it's probably someone that's got good organization skills and good eye for detail, or, you know, so you're thinking about what are they would need to have the computer skills, the Word, you know, Microsoft Office and stuff. So it's looking through what do they all ask for, and let's make sure that I've got those things in my CV, but not just once. So somebody said to me once, oh, I didn't think, you know, that they like repetition because it's a bit kind of, you know, you don't want to be reading through a CV and think, oh, not that again. But for a CV, yes, you do. A, for the bots, but also because a human. I mean, when you're looking at a CV, a lot of people, you've got a lot of CVs to look through, you're scanning it. So you want to make sure that they know you've got good communication skills, that you've got a good eye for detail. So you're putting it a few times within the CV.